This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Rod, there he is. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. All right, Manny, pressure's on you, my brother. Why? Bitcoin now has come up to 98,000. So we're trying to mess with 100,000 again. This always happens with it, whether it's the 25 zone, which was tough for us. I think it was like the 40 zone was also tough. The 50 zone was tough. The 70, like 80 zone was like brutal. We kind of hit the 73, 77 a whole bunch of times and then finally got through to 80. Now the 100, we've kind of, flirted with it twice. This is the third time now. So this happens sometimes. So we'll see if in this conversation you can make it happen and get to 100,000 here. So we'll see. It's at 90.
What I can do for you.
It's 97,990 that it started with you right now. So let's just, mark it down. And last night I saw you tweeted it out. And you're watching the same thing that we're watching. And, I was thinking about this, bro. It doesn't matter if it's Marino taking on the Niners, and then you go, oh, shit, we don't belong anywhere near the Niners. Oh, wait a minute, it's the early 90s. All right, we're pretty good. Oh, wait a minute, we don't belong anywhere near the field with the Bills. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Jimmy's going to bring us back. There we go, 62-7. Think about it, the biggest stages of Marino's history are all disasters.
Yep.
All of them are disasters, the biggest stages. Okay? Doesn't matter if we're talking about, now we talked about Jimmy. Well, and every time he went to the playoffs, it was a disaster for him too, pretty much. Wannstedt, those defenses ran out of gas by the end of the year because the offenses were just terrible. And those defenses weren't Tampa or Baltimore, right? And then we could talk about the Gases of the world or the Flows and now the McDaniels. Nothing's really changed. It's not just about being soft or being a choker or whatever. This is a team that in big moments for like the last 40 years, they just rarely ever could ever meet that big moment, dude. And it doesn't matter what faces are part of the organization. How screwed up is that?
It's really frustrating, man. And to be honest with you, I mean, I kind of got sick of it when I was in my early 20s. And that's when I started playing fantasy football. And a lot of it was because I was tired of dealing with the Dolphins letting me down every single year, And it's like, it's the same formula. I tell people it's the same movie that plays over and over again, right? I mean, it's real simple. They beat the bad teams, right? They give you this feeling of, wow, they're going somewhere.
Right.
And then the moment they got to go play a game somewhere cold against a decent team, they're going to lose that game 9 times out of 10.
Right.
It's just, it's the same thing over and over and over again. And last night I tuned in. I knew they probably weren't going to win the game, but to start the way that they did, to be 24-3, it's like it totally just vaporizes any sort of excitement you have over, hey man, they've won a few in a row here. Maybe they're going to get it together. They're just never ready for the moment. Never ready for the moment.
Think about this, okay? Because I know exactly where you're coming from. And this is the way I spun it to people. Think about this. The young people can't say this, but they can at least ask older people or go search the history. When you say any name of the 70s up until the very early 80s at the end of the Killer Bees, if you talk about an offensive player, Kuchenberg, Zonka, or you're going to talk about Bonacani, or whatever you're going to talk about, I don't give a shit who you're talking about. Toughness comes with the territory. If you're going to talk about Jake in the secondary, or you're going to talk about Langer at center, it's toughness.
Yep.
It's interesting because those teams back then were tough on defense and tough on offense. And you think about it, right at the end of the Killer Bees, because what Marino got was leftovers of the Killer Bees, and it was already mincemeat at that point. But right until the Killer Bees, that last year that they got to the Super Bowl, but Riggins ran them over. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they, that was kind of the end of who they were pretty much. that was the end of the toughness era for the Miami Dolphins. And from there on, that's what they were. They were the team that was never going to be ready for any big moments because they're not tough enough.
No.
Sad.
Well, that was all Shula. That was all
Yeah.
Shula in the book. And the moment, he got towards the end of his career and they relied on Marino and that was it.
Finesse.
It was over at that point because they lost their identity. And I know Jimmy tried to toughen him up, and I thought he did a good job with the defense. I thought the defense was tough with JT and Zach Thomas and all of those guys that they had.
But the offense wasn't tough enough. Right.
Just the offense was never good enough. They never got that side of the football resolved, and so it's just been it's been this way forever.
He didn't have the offensive line from Dallas come on over to Miami.
They never got here, brother. They never arrived.
Yeah, that is and to Mario Cristobal's credit, to use a perfect segue, that's what we're watching, the transformation of the Canes. They're not there on the defensive side. They're much more there on the offensive side because they have more people that can maul you on offense. They're not there yet defensively, and that's obviously, what's left to. Again, we talked about this at the beginning of the year. This is really his first year where he has his guys. Even though it's his third year, the first 2 years were just kind of washing out the bad. This year, he has more of his guys, and over the next couple of years, he should get to that point where that defense matches the offense. But to Mario's credit, at least he sees that part of the game that we've got to be tough in the interior. And that's something that the Dolphins don't have. And to Miami's credit, they're going to need that toughness to win against Syracuse, by the way, on Saturday.
Yeah, Syracuse is a good team. I know they had that terrible loss to Pittsburgh, and everybody kind of wrote them off right after that Thursday night loss when they got destroyed. And it's like, well, Kyle McCord still leads the country in passing yards. The guy can still throw the football. He's still got 3 really good receivers, including Oronde Gadsden's son, who's always a threat at that tight end position. They've got a solid running back in LaQuint Allen. And so to me, I look at that roster and I say, this is going to be probably the second or third toughest game Miami plays all season. Yeah. And, it's time for them to put up or shut up in this game in terms of, sort of implementing their will on offense. Because the last few weeks, I think you've seen them struggle. You saw them struggle against Wake Forest, certainly. You saw them struggle, obviously at Georgia Tech, especially on 3rd and 4th down, not getting the yards that they needed to win those games. So the defense played great the second half, but this game has to be a complete effort because Syracuse is good enough to beat you.
Yeah, no, to me, this might be the toughest game of the year because of where you're at right now and how important this game is. And I think I don't know if people are taking Syracuse nearly as serious as they should. Right. This is a game I fear for the Canes. This is one that I'm concerned about tomorrow. I really
Their defense is not bad. Their pass defense is not bad anyway. I think they're 45th in terms of pass yards defense. So to me, the key to this game for Miami is to have that offensive balance, right? Where it's not just on Cam Ward to put on a cape and make a bunch of plays and to play Tecmo Bowl out there where he's running around and scrambling and buying 20 seconds for guys to get open. This has to be, hey, play that freshman kid, right? Let's see the freshman running back who ran for over 100 yards get out there and do something. Let's see Mark Fletcher and Damian Martinez take some pressure off of Cam on the offensive side of the ball. Because, again, this team on Syracuse is going to score points. Their quarterback can make plays. In fact, I threw this stat into one of my stories this week. But if you look at the 3 games that Syracuse has lost, they've turned it over 8 times in those games and averaged just 23.7 yards rushing. In their 8 wins, they've committed just 6 turnovers combined in those 8 wins and averaged 118 yards rushing. So it really comes down to making them one-dimensional on the defensive side of the ball and forcing their quarterback into mistakes, right? Because if they're only running for 24 yards, that means he's having to do everything. So it's a matter of which team sort of instills their will and if Miami can play a balanced offensive attack.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And in a game like this, when you're worried about the defense, what are you expecting Syracuse to do against them?
Well, listen, they're going to bring all kinds of pressure and try to get the ball out of Cam Ward's hands as quickly as possible. They have some guys that can get to the quarterback. Fadil Diggs is one of the best talents. Kid that came out of Texas A&M and transferred to Syracuse. Fran Brown did a good job with him. I expect him to throw some different coverages. Fran Brown is a secondary coach, so I'm sure he's going to save some stuff that he hasn't used yet to throw at Cam Ward in this game. And then, I just think look, again, it's going to come down to does Cam Ward feel like he has to make special plays? He can do it, certainly. But I think when Miami has struggled or lost, it's because he's had to do it all, right? You've seen him fighting for his life back there. So they're going to try to throw the kitchen sink at this guy and get him off of his game and force him into mistakes. And if they do that, Syracuse can win this game.
Explain to Canes fans. It's basic. You win, you're in the ACC championship game. You lose, you're out.
Yeah, I would even venture to say at this point, based on the upsets that happened last weekend, right, with all those SEC teams, that I think if Miami gets to the ACC championship game, they're probably going to make the playoff, win or lose against SMU. As long as it's not an ugly loss against SMU, right. They'll probably get into the playoff. So you lose by 7 to 10 points against SMU, you're disappointed, but you're probably playing a road playoff game. But if you lose to Syracuse, the season's over. A bunch of guys are going to opt out of the bowl game. It's not going to matter at that point because you're not making the playoff. You just will not. The College Football Playoff Committee will look for every excuse to get more SEC and more Big Ten teams in. So they have to make it to Charlotte if they want to make it to the playoff and have any chance of making the playoff.
So if you lose, you think you're out of the playoffs here. Holy shit.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, because your resume is not that good. That's the problem.
You got to look at how many ranked wins Miami has. And right now, because Louisville lost and because Syracuse is not ranked, even if you were to beat Syracuse, that's still not a ranked win.
Right.
At the very least, you go in 11-1. That's a 2-game cushion on a bunch of SEC teams that lost 3 times. But you lose twice?
Right.
And you don't make it?
Yes, that makes sense. Yes. Yeah, losing twice with this crappy schedule compared to losing 3 times in the SEC with that schedule, yeah, you have to take an SEC team that's 3 wins is clearly better than a Miami team with 2 losses in this crappy conference. Yeah, you're right.
It's just the way it is. It's the way the math will break out, and you don't have another game to play if you lose this one. You don't get another opportunity, to impress. And I think Miami does need that first round bye. I think, injury wise, physically wise, I think every team that gets the first round bye and gets to skip the first round of the playoffs, that is going to help them tremendously because again, you're playing 3 to 4 games to win a championship now, including your conference championship. It's a long path. You want to be healthy, and many of these guys are banged up, so you need a little bit of time to heal. So win the ACC, Miami has a chance to win the national title. Lose the ACC, don't even get there. Good luck.
and what kind of a not that Mario would get fired or they make changes. None of that's happening. But like that's kind of a setback for Mario, right?
It is.
You should you're in position and you should be winning it. You gave away what you should have won, in other words.
This is your year. You have the right quarterback, you have the right schedule, you have the right conference that you're playing in. You don't have another superpower playing in your league. SMU is good, but they're not a superpower. They're not a team you sit there and say there's no way Miami can beat them. This isn't like Clemson from a few years ago with Trevor Lawrence or somebody else. This is a year where you can win the league, and to blow that opportunity at this point would look really bad on Mario. Look, they're not going to fire him, but there's a lot of people who gave money to this program to win, not to, hey, we got to 10 wins. That's not good enough. You got to win the league. You got to get to the league championship game regularly for people to want to continue to invest in this.
I can see him pissed. Like, I'm sure what happened with InterMiami and Tata. Oh, yeah, I'm stepping down for personal bullshit, dude. Jorge Mas was so pissed. Estaba insoportable that he didn't want to see Tata anymore after spending all that money on all those stars and choking in the first round. So I could see some people around the UM program kind of pissed, like, yo, we're spending a lot of money and you can't even win the ACC with a crappy schedule and really nobody to challenge you. Like, yeah, that would be definitely an indictment on Mario, unfortunately, if he loses this one. All right, so what's the prediction?
I got Miami winning this game, but I got them winning by a field goal. I don't have them covering the 10.5-point spread. I know that they did it last week and they made me look bad, but it was 20-14 last week in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go, and a lot of people were crapping the bed, like I said they would be.
Right.
So they just happened to get fortunate that Wake Forest fumbled the kickoff right after they scored to make it 27-14, and it helped them cushion the final score. So this one, I have no doubt that Syracuse is going to be ready to play because, look, this is a Super Bowl for Fran Brown. He's got Syracuse at 8-3. If he beats Miami, his team is going to be in the top 25, and that is going to help him out tremendously. So those guys are highly motivated to win this game and to get themselves in the top 25 poll.
And don't forget Caneswear right now, man. You get ready for the game tomorrow. You can get 10% off. Use our code BIGO10. And I know the Black Friday sale going on now. 50% off all InterMiami gear. Remember, if you order over $99 online, you will get free shipping, and use our code BIGO10. You can also get 10% off. Go to caneswear.com or go see them personally at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. That is our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.